Alex has been in the industry for like 12 years, and he's the vice president of the company.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, yeah, I'm very, very excited to be on the call with you guys. So, yeah, hopefully I can share some things, and if you guys have any questions, happy to go through it. I technically work for a company. We're called General Hemp, and it was started about 8-9 years ago by an incredible man, which I was just in a meeting with. His name is Mike Yamas. Great guy, very humble. Nobody really knows. He's kind of behind the company. He works on a lot of different projects. He was very, very successful originally in real estate. Made hundreds of millions in real estate and flipping hotels and hospitals and et cetera. And a while back, he worked in San Francisco, and he met up with, I guess, some kind of a colleague that had connections with CBD. And this was about 10 years ago, where hemp and CBD and all of that was completely unknown. Nobody was talking about it. Hemp was still fairly regulated. Nobody could really grow it or extract it. Nobody was using it for anything outside of just raw industrial needs, such as paper and construction and clothing. Hemp seeds and hemp hearts for food. So nobody really understood hemp. He had a friend that brought him CBD, and he did his research on it. Wasn't very interested at the beginning, and then somehow, cosmically, and he was introduced to a little girl with a very, very severe epilepsy, to the point of hundreds of seizures a day. She was having multiple grand mal seizures as a baby. Just complete paralysis of life. She was on very toxic pharmaceuticals, which basically created a vegetable state. So she was just basically just on life support because the seizures were so extreme. So anyway, fast forward, he connected that girl with his friend of the CBD, and the effects of CBD on epilepsy are pretty phenomenal. And to the point that within minutes, her seizures completely stopped, able to open her eyes, function, and I think at that time, he realized this is what he wants to spend the rest of his life doing, is CBD, and all the therapeutic benefits of hemp. And at that time, there was no real research. Access to information was very complicated. But he's a very unique guy. He's only 32. So it's kind of strange. I'm older than he is. He's the owner of the company. But he's one of the most fierce, most aggressive guys I've ever met. And he went to D.C., to the National Library, and found studies on CBD that aren't really disclosed to the public. And as he started doing a lot of his own independent research, he realized that CBD is powerful, very, very powerful, and he realized he's got to find a way to create a market. At this time, there was no CBD in the United States at all, none. There were some people doing extractions of oils from marijuana and things like that, but nothing that wasn't the kind of lack of a better word, black market, kind of a non-legitimate business. So he did a lot of research using the Farm Bill. It's probably important for this call. We get a lot of questions about the legality of CBD and hemp oil. So there was a Farm Bill in 2014 that basically allowed farmers to use industrial hemp, use the industrial parts of hemp, which is the stalk and the seed. And typically, I think it was designed for paper and manufacturing. You can literally make everything out of hemp. Plastic, anything from oil you can make from hemp. Virtually, we believe, and there's research showing about 60% of pharmaceuticals will be obsolete if CBD and hemp oil was more readily available as an alternative rather than pharmaceuticals. So what we did is, using the Farm Bill Act, instead of using it for industrial purposes, we decided, you know what, we can actually extract hemp oil, which is very rich in CBD, directly, and then we can create a market space. So we did all the research, using all the DEA and all the guidelines. We import all of our hemp from Europe. We do triple-checked quality assurance. So we get the CBD raw materials from Europe to the United States. It clears FDA, DEA, customs, so it's all very legal and legitimate. And then we test it to make sure that it's not contaminated since from the trip. And then we test it again in our finished goods. And we actually created this triple test quality just on our own. There was no guidelines or regulations. As we were creating the market space, we wanted to be very professional. And so that's kind of how General Hemp really started. The vision of it was really to be a capital equity company just for all things hemp. The very first niche was CBD. CBD was unheard of. Nobody knew about it. And Mike really wanted to create the CBD space. That's exactly what he did. It was the first ever in the United States to import CBD, create a market, and actually sell finished goods to consumers. Never been done before. He was the first guy to do it legally. And we also, in the process, we patented 3 different blends, different forms of basically purifying raws to different forms, which help kind of spike the CBD concentration and things like that. So we kind of developed, it's called green, blue, and gold. So a lot of times you'll hear our products, we have a premium gold, we have the premium blend, which is the green, blue blend. And I won't go into too much of that, but it's an entire process that we, or Mike and his team, developed from scratch. So everything you see now in CBD sold in the United States was literally started by our company. We were the very first to do it, and now since people are kind of using the same pathway, because all the projections are showing of any commodity, any kind of a global market, there is none that is with as much certainty to grow in such huge volumes as hemp and cannabis in general. Right now, for instance, I work specifically with Europe. So they kind of brought me over to help expand our business internationally. And in Europe right now, just CBD and hemp extractions alone grew about 3,000%. And that's due to the U.S. demand. So it's a massive market. It's growing very quickly. And alone in the United States, there's projections from Forbes magazine, Fortune, and all these big kind of financial magazines that the CBD cannabis space is going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry in the next 5 to 10 years. So it's very exciting, and I think a lot of the people that work here were incredible visionaries 10 years ago to understand this movement. So kind of back up a little. So that's General Hemp. That's kind of what started everything, and then from General Hemp invested and created the first ever publicly traded cannabis company in the world called Medical Marijuana Incorporated. And so that's now it's over the counter. It's on the pink sheets. Right now it's just a penny stock, but it was the very, very first ever cannabis publicly traded company ever. Since then, there's a couple other ones that have now launched, which is great. That the space is really starting to expand. So then Medical Marijuana Inc., the public company, created 2 subsidiaries, and that's kind of where we get to our story. The first one's called HempMeds, and HempMeds, I could spend hours and hours talking about them. It's an incredible company. They focus on the raw retail side, and they're primarily really positioned as kind of they originally began with helping families in significant need. Really, we focused originally on epilepsy because we saw such incredible results. So HempMed has been more of an activist type of part of our company. So they work with governments, they work with local authorities to change laws. For example, in Mexico about a year ago, we partnered with a foundation of Mexican families with kids with severe epilepsy. We're doing brain surgeries. A lot of these kids weren't given a long time to live, and they were so desperate they contacted us through all their research, and they said, you know what, this CBD has some incredible research. We're desperate. We've tried everything. Can you send us some? We sent them some products, and that kind of kicked off a huge sequence of events. At the time, cannabis importation to Mexico was illegal. But what we did is we partnered with this foundation of families. We used our PR company, which is, I believe, one of the best in the world. We work with Fox News, CNN, Bloomberg, some of the major news outlets. So we leveraged them with this foundation, and we took our message all the way to the president of Mexico and basically held him hostage, more or less politically. And because of what we did and his families did, we changed all the laws in Mexico, and we became one of the first ever imported CBD hemp-based products into Mexico in the history of Mexico, which is very exciting for us. And since then, we've duplicated this model in Brazil, Paraguay, and now we're working on Colombia, Argentina, and a couple other countries like Chile. So and that's kind of HempMed. They kind of work more on the movement and the kind of high risk, high needs type of families. And they also offer online sales pretty much everywhere in the world. So that's HempMed. And then about 2014, we bought a company called Kannaway. And Kannaway became the very first ever in network marketing history, first ever cannabis-based network marketing company. So that was 2014. It had an incredible start. Then it kind of fizzled out. Even when I do research, so I've been with the company about 3-4 months. So I did a lot of my own research. I spent about 6 months actually researching Kannaway myself before I made a decision to come here. And I was concerned, to be honest. I read a lot of news, a lot of ratings weren't so great, and I really didn't understand. This is such an incredible product with such a powerful comp plan. I didn't understand why it wasn't working. I've come to realize it had a lot of leadership at the time when they launched that absolutely had no idea how to do network marketing. They understood hemp, but they didn't understand our business. So they kind of took this momentum and kind of just destroyed it. To a point that the company was fizzling out. And then about 18 months ago, they hired a guy named Blake Schrader. And I happened to work with Blake a long time ago. And in the last 18 months, he's completely turned everything around. We've grown every single month. This month, we're going to be finishing the biggest month in the history of the company. We'll probably do just over $2 million just in the United States alone. So it's been very exciting. Kannaway's been growing about 30% a month, very organically. It's just normal people coming in, loving the product, sharing the product. And so the growth has been very, very healthy and very steady. And what's more impressive for me is our auto ship. So our monthly reorders are actually growing just as quickly as our sales, which I personally never actually seen in my career. I've been doing this a long time, and usually you have to really crank up your recruiting to compensate for all the people you're losing on your auto ships, because most companies are very, very opportunity driven. So people come for money, they usually won't make any money, and then they leave. So you see this huge turnover, this kind of revolving door. And what I've been so in love with here in Kannaway is there's a lot of people getting in just for the product. And that's really what we focus on. The products are so exceptional, and the results are just completely undeniable. The research is probably more significant than any other product I've ever seen, retail or MLM. We have a foundation called Echo Connections, and what they do is to kind of build a community. They give a lot of free products to really needy families, and in the meantime, they also are trying to be the biggest database for CBD research in the world. And right now, we've got about 10,000 white papers on every single disease or ailment and a correlating CBD study and clinical trial done somewhere in the world. Either we've done it or different companies or different countries or universities have done it. And right now, I think we are up to about 10,000. So if you just go to echoconnection.org, educate, you will see ALS, nausea, depression, anxiety, autism, and you can see the correlating white paper of some kind of research where CBD was involved and what the results were. So that's very, very unique. I've never seen that in any company I've worked with, ever. So that's a very, very great thing to have at our arsenal. And so that's kind of what Kannaway is. So now we've been growing. Very excited. I think we're one of the only network marketing companies doing cannabis. There's a few others that have started. But they're very, very small. And ironically, many of them are actually ex-executives of Kannaway that actually saw the vision. Didn't do a very good job here, but ended up still launching their own companies. And they're all actually here in California as well. So that's kind of where we're at now, and a very, very exciting time. We're very, very new. And I still tell people that, this is not even an embryo stage. Like, the parents aren't even dating yet. Like, the company hasn't even really started. I think these last 18 months have been just complete pre-launch for the United States, and we're attracting some really, really good people. And a very, very, very exciting time. So it still, for me, feels like very much like a ground floor type of opportunity. and especially as modern prohibition is truly ending around the world. We're very excited to be kind of at the forefront to really capture and really capitalize on this global movement towards cannabis. So it's very, very exciting, and right now we're going to Europe, and I think Europe will be very, very good for us. And then we're going to try to, eventually take over the world wherever we can enter. And so our vision is really to be kind of like the General Electric, kind of the Budweiser, for lack of a better word, of hemp. So as prohibition will end and things get much easier to do business, because right now it's a very, very difficult space to work in with a lot of federal oversight. But as things start to kind of relax around the world, we will, and we are the most premier hemp oil company right now. Definitely in the United States, and I haven't seen one else in the world. So I think anyone that's kind of getting involved now, it's a very, very special time historically, not only for the company, but in terms of kind of the global climate, as prohibition is slowly ending country by country. In 2018 alone, Canada and Australia, two massive countries, have some very, very great cannabis legislation right now that's going to be passing, which is going to, again, be another big market for us to expand into. And the beautiful thing is, right now, there's really no competition in what we're doing. We know we've got the best sourcing. We've got arguably the very best pricing of milligrams of CBD per dollar. Even though we're an MLM and pay commissions, we can still be very competitive because we spent the last 10 years kind of really dialing in our sources. We buy very high volumes, so it keeps our prices very low, to the point that even competitors and other companies try to come to us to buy our raw materials because we do it the legal way and we've got some great pricing that we can all benefit from as a company. So, but our vision is very, very big. I was just in a meeting before this where we just bought 4 more companies. We're getting into technology. We're getting into the animal sector. We've got now 3 pharmaceuticals that we're launching, 3 pharmaceutical companies. Then we just opened a new construction company, and we're going to get into clothing. So what's very unique is we kind of leverage all the expertise and all these other projects within the company, and we leverage that in Kannaway. So we do a lot of independent research, and we get a lot of investment dollars coming from all these other revenue streams that we can put into Kannaway, and to really make it one of the best network marketing companies, and just truly do things differently, and be really about a product that really helps people. And for me, I would love nothing more than to have 90% of our business all customers, and that means that a lot of people are benefiting every single day from this incredible product. So very exciting time, and even since I've been here, it's already grown like 3 times, and I've been here about 4 months. Every single month we're growing like crazy. And it's just a lot of fun and a lot of really good people with the right motivation. And it's what I've been most impressed with the most, real focus on putting people before profit. We do a lot of things that we probably most companies wouldn't do in order to help with the profit margins. We really don't want to cut any corners. We make sure our products are very safe. We spend a lot of money to make sure everything is very legal. And we ensure that all of our processes and our sources and the way we do things is very proprietary. And we try to really keep all of our IP very, very close to the chest so that we can still be the most competitive company in the space. And I could go probably on, and there's a lot of really great resources. A really great website is medicalmarijuanainc.com, and that kind of talks about our parent company, Medical Marijuana Inc., but it talks about the vision, CBD, company at first. It talks about all the U.S. patents that we've licensed. The biggest one is cannabidiol as a neuroprotectant and an antioxidant. We've actually licensed that from the U.S. government, which is really significant for us in a lot of our pharmaceutical studies. So I don't know if there's any specific questions. I can talk specific about each product and kind of the uniqueness of it. I could talk about kind of CBD in general, or I could talk more about the company or comp plan. I'm kind of happy to go down any path that's interesting for anybody on the call.
Hey, Alex, this is Matt. I truly appreciate your time. I just find it interesting and awesome. Can you just touch base on who's all in the building, where our products come in, and then I had a buddy that asked a question about the funding and the backing of the company, and if like the United States were to like get in and start producing it, maybe themselves, where it would go.
Yeah, great question. So right now in the building, again, it's very unique to me. I've always been like one company, one mission, one product, and we go for it. Right now in our building, we actually just leased the whole other side of the building because we're just growing like crazy. So we have a company called HempMeds, and HempMeds is the company that's kind of before Kannaway. So they do retail. We're launching a company called, I think it's going to be called HempMeds Worldwide, where we're going to do express shipping to every country in the world. So they're kind of working on the retail side. Another ones that really work with foundations. So that's HempMeds. And then you got Kannaway, which is me, obviously, and our team there. We got another company called Axiom Biotech, which was just recently featured on, I believe, Forbes magazine, for being, we're going into trial studies for an all-cannabinoid-based painkiller to rival opioids like Percocet and OxyContin. So we just got licensing for that indication, and we were just featured, and we're getting close to launch that. We have another company called Kannaway, which is the indications. It's a pharmaceutical company. The indications they're working on is CTE, which is it's based off of when people have repeated concussions in impact sports like football. They made the movie Concussion with Will Smith. That the doctor, he's actually one of the doctors we're working with for CTE. So that's one of the indications. I think another indication is IBS and spasticity and basically just pain management. So we're trying to launch the first botanical, all-natural painkiller, which for us I think would be a massive turning point for the company. What else? We got another company called Dixie Botanicals. We kind of call that one our kind of counterculture brand. They do like shampoos, dabs. I mean, they get really into the vapes. Kind of the younger demographic. The branding's a little bit more, I don't know if you want to say edgy. But again, it's very small, and it kind of more for like the dispensaries and the younger generation to get them interested in CBD. What else? I know I'm missing something. So we just bought a General Hemp construction company. So we're going to be launching, making little hemp pods. We're going to start selling. Eventually, it might actually go into Kannaway, where people can make commissions and volume from selling these hemp pods. What else? We just launched the animal company that's going to do animal bedding. We don't even have a name for it yet. We were just talking about it about 10 minutes ago. It's going to do animal bedding, animal feed, kind of focus into that market space. We've got a technologies company that's going to be going to kind of work with our construction on solar. It's crazy. We're working actually with Tesla and some Chinese companies on creating capacitors out of hemp, which are much faster than any other capacitors. I could get into that. I don't really understand that, but all I know is some exciting things in the technology sector that we're working on. So yeah, so there's about 10 different companies in our building right now, and it's one of the most important things for me was funding. Because again, I came from the company doing over $1 billion, so for me it was important to know that there's enough money to keep financing, and we're very well funded. Again, we've got lots of revenue streams. As you can see, we've got about a total of 8 to 10 different revenue streams that come to the company, and on top of investors, and since we are a publicly traded company, so we have the investors from that side, and very easy for us to kind of ramp up funding for any kind of projects we do. But the funding part of it is absolutely not an issue for us. As we have a lot of funding and a lot of investors. So for us, this is going to be a legacy type of company, and we've been growing very quickly. So that's in the funding sector. That's the unique part. If any one company struggles, we have many companies with a lot of ways to bring capital, which is in addition to publicly traded and all the investors that we have. So I think of definitely once some of the pharma companies go public, I think that'll be a massive, massive milestone for us. And then it'll definitely help Kannaway, as we're all kind of involved in the same mission. So I hope I answered most of those questions. I think there might have been one more. I'm not sure. Oh, the government. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. So we're kind of monitoring that very, very closely. And I think even for us, if as soon as they do legalize it everywhere. So right now our product it's 100% legal in every state as we use the Farm Bill, and there's no issue there. But as hemp becomes more legalized to cultivate and to extract and to use it, it'll definitely significantly benefit us. That'll mean it's going to help our supply chain. It's going to help our costs significantly. And it's going to make our business much, much, much easier and much quicker and more flexible. Because like I said, right now we get all of our products from Europe, which is very expensive, as you can imagine, and it creates very complicated timelines for our products. And also there's different harvests, you get different blends, and it's hard to control it when it's in a different part of the world. So for us, we couldn't be more excited. And as soon as it becomes fully legal, we already have full plans to capitalize on every single sector in cannabis. We're really kind of, the excitement in the building at least is kind of, I would imagine it's similar to when alcohol prohibition was ending. And once the government said, you know what, alcohol is now legal, you saw one of the biggest economic booms in the U.S. history, where all these people getting in, trying to now capitalize. But those that were already doing a lot of the work, such as Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, they were the ones that really became the king. So for us, we definitely welcome it. We push it. We actually lobby governments. We lobby attorney generals. We spend a lot of money to different cannabis caucuses and things like that. For us, it would be a massive, massive benefit if they do finally legalize it. Because the beautiful thing here, at least in the U.S., the capitalism kicks in, and those that know how to do it and already have the supply chains and the know-how and the products, we definitely want to go mainstream. But our ultimate vision in the next 5 to 10 years is to have General Hemp or Kannaway or anything of that sort to be just same as on the shelves or be in the same conversations as vitamin E, vitamin C, something that you need to be supplementing every single day, and it's going to be part of the food chain and part of your daily diet. We know it's coming, and we're going to be prepared to take over the mass market. So for us, it's very good. If they change the laws, it's very good. And if they don't change the laws, we're going to keep doing what we do. And we've still kind of mastered this little niche of CBD in the U.S. specifically. So for us, we're prepared for either way the government goes. And right now, with this current administration, it's probably not going to be sooner than later. They're pretty anti-cannabis. But right now, state by state, there's no way the federal government's going to stop this momentum. I mean, I think there's 30-plus states now that do medical cannabis. A handful of them do recreational, and many, many more now have it on the ballot to vote for recreational or medical cannabis. Even to the point, I'm from Utah, which is arguably one of the most conservative states in the U.S. They're now voting to put medical cannabis on the ballot. So it's happening, and it's exciting, and I don't think there's any other product on the planet that you were to mention to somebody that you're in the cannabis business. Every single person, whether they agree with it, they don't agree with it, they've heard of it, they know what it is, and they're very curious to understand what the benefits are, and it's such an easy conversation to have. So for us, we feel like we're in a very good position, and for me personally, that's the entire reason I decided to uproot my family from Utah and move here to San Diego, because I knew that I absolutely couldn't live with myself if I missed this opportunity to be a part of it. And so far, it's been by far the best decision I've ever made.
Thomas here, I got a question for you. Can you touch on, from the Kannaway point of view, of what countries are either a good market right now, or at least an upcoming market in the near future?
Yeah. So from kind of what we've seen, kind of the hottest area, and that's kind of why I came over, is definitely Europe. Europe typically is much more progressive than the U.S. in terms of laws and kind of being ahead of the curve globally. And right now, Europe is one of the biggest producers of raw materials. So they do a lot of extraction. It's growing like crazy. They've got probably more hectares of hemp than most countries and most regions. So definitely Europe. Every single month, every single week, a new country in Europe is changing their laws. And everything we've seen from all the projections, the European region is definitely the next cannabis boom. Slowly, China is getting on board. They've started allowing to cultivate hemp. Slowly, they're getting into the CBD extraction, but it's not quite legal. Canada next year will legalize it, and that'll be a big market. Australia will legalize it next year. That'll be another massive market. But right now, from what I've seen in Europe, the European Union is a big opportunity. They're very similar to the United States. So they have the European Commission, which is kind of the federal government, and then each member state can kind of interpret the laws as they will. What we're seeing is it's very vague. Even the European Commission has no set guidelines on CBD. They don't understand CBD. Everybody kind of lumps marijuana and hemp together, which is a big problem, so it's very confusing. So a long-winded answer is definitely Europe. They've mastered extracting and exporting, but they don't know how to market it to the end consumer because either they don't have the financial infrastructure. Two, typically dispensaries that sell CBD don't do very well. It's just a small market space. And a lot of the retail companies that do it online, they don't have the safety and quality that's really required by the EU regulations. So we believe by Kannaway coming in there, we're going to do everything the right way. We're going to do everything as well as we possibly know under the law. Again, it's very black, it's very gray. So definitely Europe, with the emphasis on Central Europe, places like Czech, Poland just legalized medical marijuana, Germany very good, Spain, and obviously Netherlands and Sweden or Switzerland. So, and that's kind of our main focus. And I believe in the next 6 to 8 months, our European business will be much bigger than our U.S. business, and we're doing about $2 million now. So I'd imagine by the end of 2018, we'll be $2-3 million business in Europe.
So if I was to get a new customer in Europe, would I be able to sell through my website in the U.S. to Germany or Poland or something? Would they somehow deliver that out? Exactly. So the beautiful thing with network marketing, so the strategy is we're going to have a seamless system. So you would be able to be sitting here in the U.S., enroll in brand new distributor in Germany. They would go, they'd see everything in German. They would enroll with the German enrollment flow. They would place whatever products we're offering in Germany. And then, boom, it would go the same way. They would have their own back office. You would get the points. They would get their products. And you literally wouldn't have to do anything. Everything would be housed online. So you could have an international global business just from your cell phone. So, yeah, that's definitely the strategy. And right now, we're anticipating, if nothing crazy happens, by launching somewhere the first week of November of this year. And at that point, you'll be able to go pick your country that's available, and that's how you build your international business. It'll be that simple. So we've sent about 200 orders, and I've already paid about $60,000 in commissions to Europe. So we're technically operational in Europe as we speak. We're shipping products and I'm paying commissions. So if you guys were interested with prospects, I can definitely get with Sarah and give you the full instructions. And right now they can order all their products instead they're ordering from the United States portfolio. But once we launch Europe, we're only going to have 5 products to start with. So right now everyone's kind of getting everything, but it's going to be a little bit different once we do launch. We're only bringing our best products from the beginning. So right now I've got about 1,000 people in Europe already working, and we already have meetings of like 500-600 people in Poland. So this thing's already cranking even before we launch. So it's going to be pretty big. Cool. Thank you.
No problem.
I got 2 more questions. Can you tell Matt about who we share the building with, what's cool agencies? And then the other question is, what do you recommend on setting up a business-to-business, like a storefront? And what are the regulations and rules on that?
Yeah, and absolutely. So, kind of the fun thing about the building, and I always kind of tease people, because a lot of people ask me, well, is this legal? Everyone I talk to says it's not legal, which is probably the biggest thing I get, and it's the easiest thing for me to answer. And it's to the point that we actually had our president, our CEO, Dr. Stuart Titus of Medical Marijuana Inc., he actually made a video. It was actually directed towards the DEA, teaching them their own laws, but we actually just put it on our website so people can be comfortable with our business. But it's funny, so in our building we have the Secret Service, we have the ATF, and then I think at one point we had the DEA, and the rest of the building is lawyers. And we have the very top floor. It's a 20-story building, like in the middle of downtown San Diego. And our owner, he's got a little bit of an edge to him, and he thought it'd be funny to put a hemp cannabis company on top of all of these federal agencies. So we have the very top floor, and without a doubt, we wanted to keep our friends and our I wouldn't call them enemies, but our difficult friends very, very close to us. So we have a lot of the top agencies actually sit right here in our building. So they couldn't. I mean, if they wanted to, they could just walk upstairs and shut us down. But clearly, we're doing everything the right way. So it's kind of just a fun, kind of interesting to see those guys every day. And then for the business to business, so the way they set that up is we were getting a lot of questions about people that storefronts and companies that wanted just to retail the product. So we created this business storefront option, and it's very simple, and it's a very, very kind of a one-step process. So we offer the ability to enroll a store. You would put the EIN number in, the tax ID for the business, and if you place a minimum order of $1,000, we give really very, very generous price breaks. But we also adjust the volume as well so that we keep our margins. So it's really kind of a raw retail model. So people can buy in massive bulk, turn around and sell it at our suggested retail price, and still make phenomenal margins like any other business. And all that points and all that volume will then flow upline through the compensation model. So people will sign up stores, and then you can use that volume to rank advance, and you get paid commissions. You'll always make a certain percentage off of every store sale. It's very simple. Unfortunately, those stores at this point can't enroll people, and they can't really do any distributor activities. They're basically just a merchant account that's buying beyond wholesale price. But as a distributor, you can leverage that volume for your business. So if you enrolled, 3 storefronts and they start producing massive business, you could use 2 of those teams and literally live off of that volume forever, because you really only need 2 teams to maximize the comp plan. So that's very unique. I've never seen that. I've seen bulk discounts, but I've never seen the ability for a store to enroll, and they can manage their own inventory, schedule their shipping, what they want, when they want it. They can drop ship it to other stores. They can basically manage their entire business online. That's kind of the B2B storefront model. I don't know if there's any more questions on that.
Yeah, this is Matt. I've got a couple of questions. First question is there any form of licensing or anything that a guy, just some random guy from Minnesota, would have to offer these products to family and friends? And then secondly, off the top of your head, do you know if the cannabis oil would help people that have thyroid deficiencies?
Yeah, great question. So as far as for our distributors, so your example, the Minnesota, absolutely not. So all of our products, they're registered as food supplements. So you can go to any store, you go to any GNC or health food store, and you'll see millions of supplements. So to sell a supplement, you don't need to be qualified, registered. Well, we don't position this as a medicine or a pharmaceutical, so you don't need any kind of certifications or credentials to sell it. So it's 100% dietary supplement. So there's no issues there at all. Even for businesses to sell, they just need a business license just to do business. So it has nothing to do with our product offering. So there's no issue there. And then I'm sorry, I think, what was your second part of your question?
Just wondering if the products would help people that have like thyroid deficiencies.
It's possible. I'd have to kind of look and see if I can find any articles on that specifically. But what I can say is, so basically the endocannabinoid system, through the last 20 years, they've found that it's the biggest regulatory system in your body, bigger than your nervous system, respiratory, cardiac, and these receptors are found on every single cell in your body. Some are kind of isolated in different regions. You know, CB1 receptors and CB2 are found in different areas. But definitely, it can definitely help regulate all physiological and biological functions of the body. So I can definitely get back to you specifically on thyroid. But if you go to echoconnection.org, I bet you can find many articles on the thyroid. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is something out there for thyroid. If it's connected to the nervous system, then CBD will definitely interact with it and regulate it.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yep.